Cowart, FTE 1911 Master Armorer's course. It is 17 July 2025, and this is week 2 of the course. This week we'll be disassembling our 1911. This is my 1911 right here. I have already removed the feed source, and the chamber and magazine well are free. There is no live ammunition anywhere around me. This firearm is safe. And what we'll be doing is completely disassembling this. So more than a field strip, it's a detail strip, which I have never completed before. And I'll be doing that off camera. And then we're gonna lay everything out in an exploded view on camera and use a random number generator and talk about 6 separate components. And then I'll reassemble it off camera. And then I'll go through the cycle of operations for the 1911. So here is the exploded view of the TSIS 1911A1. Just a note for anyone who's watching this who may be going through the 1911 course soon. This TSIS, obviously it's brand new 1911, and the main spring retention pin right here goes right here. Mine was lodged in there. It would not come out. Shout out to the instructor for helping me. Basically had to put this in a vise and use a steel punch and a little bit of WD-40 to get this out. And I still had to give it some solid hits with the hammer, but it did finally come out. So for this part of the assignment, we're going to identify 6 components and then talk a little bit about where they fall within the cycle of operations. The first thing I have is number 46, which is the trigger, and that's this right here. It is part of the firing and cocking cycle of operations. It actuates the disconnector, which is right here, which engages the bottom of the sear, allowing the mainspring and hammer strut right here and right here to send the hammer home. And when it's returned to its forward position by the middle leg, the disconnector returns protruding through the frame, is in between the trigger and the sear. So that's how that works. It's primarily for firing the weapon, but it is a bridge between the disconnector and the sear. The next part I have is the safety lock plunger, which is this little guy right here. Indirectly part of firing. What it's really part of is just the safety features for preventing firing and also helping the firearm, the slide stay locked to the rear when the magazine has been emptied. And the way that works is it's just providing positive pressure to both the thumb safety when it's up and the slide lock. The next thing I had was number 15, the magazine catch. That's this guy right here. It's indirectly associated with the feeding part of cycle operations. The primary purpose for it is it maintains the magazine in the firearm, and it also falls in line with the trigger and prevents the trigger from going too far back in the frame. The next thing I have is number 6, which is the ejector, and that is this right here. It's on the frame, and its primary purpose in the cycle of operations is ejecting. It uses directional bias to eject the cartridge or casings. Most of the time it's casings out of the ejection port. And finally, I've got number 11, which is the firing pin stop, and that is right here. And the purpose of the firing pin stop is it contains the firing pin and the firing pin spring, and that's really its primary purpose. You could say it is associated with the firing portion of the cycle of operations by preventing the spring after contacting primer, and then also prevents the firing pin from shooting out the back of the firearm when that spring tension uncoils. And that is it for the 6 components. Okay, part 2. As you can see, this firearm is put back together. The chamber is clear, as is the magazine well. You can see all 3. I've both physically and visually inspected. This firearm is safe. So what we're going to do next is go through the cycle of operations. I'm going to be inserting a magazine with snap caps in it into the firearm. And the first part of the cycle of operations is feeding and then chambering. So as the slide moves forward, you'll see the round going up the ramp and into the chamber, and then finally locking. The next part will be firing, but first we'll go ahead and make sure that our safeties are functioning. So first thing we'll do is we'll throw this thumb safety up. We're not touching our grip safety. Nothing happens on trigger pull. Press in the grip safety. Still nothing happens. That shows that our grip safety is functioning. Next, we'll remove that. Not pressing our grip safety. Still nothing. Grip safety depressed. Thumb safety down. And it fires. The next part after firing is unlocking. And then extracting, as you can see, and ejecting. Then finally, cocking. As you can see, hammer is cocked, and that is the cycle of operations, which is feeding, chambering, locking, firing, unlocking, extracting, ejecting, and cocking. And that is it for this week's video.